What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Still Straight Fire Running podcast. Today, we've got a super exciting guest, Gary Martin. Gary has run 3:32 in the 1500, 3:48 in the mile, 7:36 in the 3K, and most recently 13:05 in the 5K. Gary, thank you so much for being here, man. Pumped to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Stuart. I'm excited.
All right, so I always like to start by getting the full picture of a runner I have on here. So, what first sparked your interest in the sport, and when did you realize you could be really good at this?
Yeah, I think if we're going back to my earliest interest in this, I was in kindergarten, so I was like 6 years old and played baseball, soccer, basketball, and there was a flyer for track and field in my school, and I don't know what made me want to do it. I don't feel like running is the most thrilling thing, but for some reason I wanted to run track, so started doing that in kindergarten, and I ran like the 200, the 400, nothing special, and got out of it for a while after a couple years doing that, and then freshman year of high school, my friends kind of talked me back into running track, and I had an okay freshman year, but kind of just started to take off a little bit my sophomore and junior year.
Man, that's crazy that you got such a late start to the sport. But jumping to your senior year of high school, you became just the 14th high schooler to break 4 minutes in the mile. But what made it crazy was how you did it. And not it wasn't a perfectly paced pro race, but you did it at the Philadelphia Catholic League Championships and you won by 20 seconds. You just went for it. Take me through that race. When did you decide that you were going to go for sub four at that race? And what did it feel like to hit that barrier in front of your home crowd?
Honestly, I didn't really know I was going to take a crap. Made really, really good work on Tuesday. So I think 4 miles at maybe like five flat, a little bit of a rest, and then 2 miles at like 450, which at the time for me was a really big workout. I wasn't a super aerobic runner, so I feel like hitting those paces, I was kind of like, wow, I'm in better shape than I've ever been. So I kind of talked to my coach, and I was like, like I think it'd be pretty fun. It's my last chance to run like a full mile before the postseason because you start to run 1600. So I was kind of like, if I feel good, can I give it a crack? And he told me the weather looked like it was going to be good, and if I felt good, I could go for it. So, it was pretty special to do it in front of, both my teammates, my parents, like friends and family, and also just like other runners from the PCL because there's a lot of alumni there and a lot of fans just from the area who came out to watch. So it was pretty cool.
No, absolutely. And you definitely took the running world by surprise. I remember my high school coach even reached out and texted me about how crazy it was that this kid from Pennsylvania just did this not at some crazy meet, but at pretty much like a backyard dual meet is what it seemed like. But had you committed to UVA at that point?
Yeah, that was pretty late. I committed to UVA in August of 2021, and that race was May of 2022. So probably a little over half a year.
Oh, gotcha. So you committed pretty early. Walk me through that recruitment process, though. Who else was in the mix, and what ultimately made UVA this choice for you?
Yeah, I think pretty early in the recruiting process, I knew I wanted a good balance of elite running and the chance to be like the best athlete possible, but also just, good academics and somewhere where I could go and get a good degree and be challenged. So I feel like that kind of narrowed my focus a lot to a lot of ACC schools, a couple Ivy schools, kind of East Coast schools, and ended up coming down to probably Virginia, UNC, Notre Dame were probably my final three, but I really kind of just fell in love with UVA when I visited, and I felt like I really clicked with Coach Vin and Coach Trevor, and just meeting the guys on the team. It seemed like really good team culture and something I wanted to be a part of. So, I just kind of felt like I would.
Yeah, well, moving forward, I mean, it seems like UVA was definitely the right choice for you. How has your experience been at UVA so far, both on and off the track? It's so easy for us to see results and think everything's perfect, but talk me through that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's overall it's been very good, and I mean it hasn't been without its ups and downs. I mean, my first and second year, I had I got sick. I got sick twice actually. Sick towards the end of my first year, pretty sick in the middle of cross country second year, and kind of derailed my first couple of seasons at UVA. And other than that, I feel like it's been really positive, and I've stayed healthy, training wise. I've just continued to get consistently better. And, I have, like I said, really good relationship with Vin and Trevor. And I feel I'm able to communicate to them when I feel like I want to do something, when I need to take a day easier, I feel like I can be going harder. And I feel like just having that trust in that relationship has allowed for me to be the best version of myself on the track. And then off the track, I mean, I really liked school. It's been going really well. And more than anything, I feel like I've just had so much fun, like being with the guys on the team and I feel like they're my best friends and just getting to spend time with them every day has been a joy.
No, absolutely. And yeah, everyone has those highs and lows. But what advice would you give to someone who's experienced similar hard times and is just thinking about giving up?
I think the biggest advice I'd give is just control what you can control and stay consistent in that. And there's always going to be things like, there's going to be injuries, there's going to be bad races, but it doesn't mean you should panic. And, if you're a runner, your chances are, we know principles that are to be true about running. Like you need to sleep well, you need to eat well, and if you can just gradually stay healthy and increase training, you're going to keep getting better. So, you know, if you're consistent in training and you're recovering well, you're eating well, sleeping well, you're going to get better, even if the results aren't always linear. So, I think just really trust in the process and be able to be consistent and don't panic if things aren't going well in the short term because consistency will fix things in the long run.
No, absolutely. And kind of sticking to that point on training, you've obviously taken a big jump since high school. So, how has your training changed from high school to college? You mentioned not having too much of an aerobic base, but obviously, we've seen now you've finished 13th and 7th in the NCAA cross country. So, that's definitely changed. But what things have clicked for you in your training? And is there anything that just has not clicked and you kind of had to deviate away from?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that's clicked for me is one, increasing mileage because I wasn't super high mileage in high school and just staying healthy and being able to add volume, I think helped a lot. And then also just like adding threshold work and just getting really longer and even like slower workouts, but just really building that, my threshold up. And I feel like when I came into college, I was a mile 800 guy. And even my first year, I think, they knew it would take time to develop me aerobically. So I think I still kind of trained more like an 800 guy than a 5K guy.
Mhm.
And, like I ran really well my first year, but I think going into my second year, trained really hard, had good workouts over the summer. And in that fall, kind of made the jump up to being able to handle like the 8K, 10K volume. And I think that's kind of just been the biggest change is, staying healthy, but really just training harder and being able to handle the longer stuff.
No, for sure. And kind of speaking with your coaches about moving up in distance, was that something that you were excited for or kind of hesitant to move into?
I was excited. I mean, I think the conversation was always, like I want to go up to these longer distances, but I don't want to abandon the shorter stuff. Like even if I'm a 5K runner, you know, I still want to be able to go out and run a really fast 800 at all times. And I
Mhm.
think that's kind of the good part about our training is I've gotten really strong aerobically and I'm able to go out and run really fast over 5K and longer. But I think, our training's still based a lot in the mid distance and those kind of workouts that'll have me ready to run fast like later in the season.
No, absolutely. And I had Connor Mantz on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and he said something similar where he feels like when he's in his best marathon shape, that's also when he's in his best 1500-meter shape. Do you kind of experience something similar where when you feel like you're really sharp, is that also when you're most aerobically fit, or does it come at a cost?
I don't know if it necessarily comes at a cost, but I feel like it goes in waves a little bit where, I'm really aerobically fit right now. And if you told me to go out and run as fast as I possibly can in the mile, I'm probably in the best mile shape of my life. But, you know, back in August when I'm racing competitive 1500s, like, two 1500s a week pretty much, like with rounds and all, then I think it's a little bit of a different fitness where, maybe I'm not as aerobically strong as I am now, but I'm lower in mileage. I'm doing shorter, faster workouts. I'm sharper, and I'm able to close a 1500 in 50 seconds versus being a little training a little harder and being maybe fitter but not as sharp. So, I think I'm definitely in the best of my life and fast, but there's also, as you get later in the season, you start to sharpen up and you get ready for more tactical stuff.
No, that totally makes sense. But kind of going back to this cross country season, obviously it was an incredible season for you. And you finished that up placing seventh at NCAA cross country. What made you choose to run the BU 5K instead of going for that US cross team?
I mean, honestly, I think just like my heart and my roots are still in the track, I think. And, like I love cross country, but I was ready to get back on the track. And I think, if you ask me the big long-term goals for this year and moving forward, they're centered around winning and running really fast on the track. So I felt like it made the most sense for me to make that transition, start doing track workouts, and just get ready to run some really big races in February and March.
Totally makes sense. After the race, let's just say Marco Langen had some comments. He kind of called you out a little bit for moving off the rails on that last 50 meters. What were your thoughts on that situation and maybe the whole interview? And does that give you any added motivation for the next matchup? Or do you try to not let that stuff get to your head?
Yeah, I mean, I found it funny, honestly. And I mean, I cool down with Marco, and I mean, he said the same thing to me on the cool down, and I feel like I'm friendly with him. And, you know, I know how Marco is, and it doesn't bother me. Like he's an open book. And,
Mhm.
I think that's, there's an appeal to that. And, I don't let it get to me. I know that I'll be ready when I need to be. And, my goal is he likes to talk about March. My focus is also March. And, I think I've been ready to compete at the highest level when it's mattered the most. And I know I'll be ready to go there.
Yeah, no, as a basketball fan especially, I know you tend to like some other sports, so March is prime time. But also last year you had another incredible race at BU. Which race was more fun, last year's 3K or this year's 5K?
I would definitely say this one. Last year, I mean, the 3K is more in my wheelhouse, and I think last year it was a good race, but it was a little disappointing because I wasn't in touch with the leaders with 400 to go, and I just simply wasn't strong enough to hang at that point. Where this year, I felt like one, I was stepping up in distance, and two, I was still fit enough to, you know, I lost the race, but I felt confident and strong enough to make a move with 300 to go, and I went to the lead, and I was ready to lose. I wasn't really happy with the overall outcome, but looking back at it. It was a big PR in the 5K. I'm confident and strong enough to be able to go up in distance and really just like hang with those guys and make a move at the end of a race. So I feel like this year especially has me excited for what's to come in indoor when I drop down a little bit.
No, for sure. So you mentioned that you are going to drop down this indoor season. Is there any part of you that sees, look, I just ran 13:05 in December. Maybe I should just focus on the 5K, or are you dead set on sticking with the 1500?
Yeah, I really don't know. I mean, I think I'm lucky where I could definitely go up to the five, and that's something I'll sit down and think about. But I mean, when I say drop down, I mean I've done what I've had to do in the 5K. I have my NCAA's mark, and then time to go get a mark in the mile, the 3K, and just kind of run as fast as I can in those events, and really build the resume up going into the postseason.
No, absolutely. And one last question on the BU track type situation here. Do you think there's something special about the track? Is it the environment? Is it the competition? What makes it so special that people always seem to be dropping these crazy fast times at BU?
I think it's everything. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, when you step on the track, it feels bouncy. I think whatever they use to make the track, it's definitely a good surface, good wood under it, but also the environment. Like the fans are so close to the track and it gets really loud in there. And when you have like for us, for example, watching Jane Henningren run right before our race and seeing that, I think it's hard not to get motivated and feel like you're going to run really fast when everyone around you is competing at a high level. So, you know, combination of things, but it's just definitely a pretty special track to race at.
No, absolutely. Moving on to some fan questions we have here. The first one, how do you fuel to support your training load, and how does that differ throughout the season?
Yeah, I feel like honestly, I think if I could say one thing that's been my key to success, it's probably fueling because very particular about when I eat and making sure enough and like I eat plenty of carbs before every run. I make sure I get like protein and fats in afterwards, and ultimately the biggest thing is just making sure I'm eating enough. And obviously you want to eat healthy, but honestly, I think making sure you're eating healthy comes second to just eating enough. And, you know, the biggest thing is if you're not healthy, you're not going to be able to train. So you need to fuel your body in order to run all the miles.
No, that's so true. Yeah, I always took from Clayton Young the rules. It's like number one is eat enough, and number two is eat good food. Second question here from the fans. How do you block out the typical college distractions and stay focused as an athlete on campus?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I think my personality and my interests, I don't usually like I'm not someone who's super has a super strong desire where I'm like, man, like I really want to go out right now and I have to fight it. Like I feel like I'm someone who I love the grind of training and I get excited about having a workout stay or a long run. But I think part of what helps outside of that is just you know I live with teammates, teammates next to me, teammates below me, teammates in my house, and just like having guys there who are always down to play a card game or a board game or something. And I feel like I have a lot of fun, some like the typical life and bought in to the same vision and who are also training really hard. It makes it easy to just are locked in and focused on.
No, for sure. Yeah, no, and hey, if you guys have a good Catan night or something, I'd love to come out and join y'all for it. But it totally makes a
Yeah.
difference when you're surrounding yourself with like-minded people. And another fan question here: which of your teammates would you least like to date your daughter?
I'm gonna go Neat Mountain.
Oh, really? Do you care to explain?
Yeah.
Maybe I have to stay off the internet here.
No, I'll just leave it at that.
All right. Let the fans run wild in their imagination. And last fan question here. So rumor has it that there is a Philadelphia 76ers fan page out there. And I don't want to make any assumptions here, but I've heard it might have been started by you. Do you think that that account has more followers than one of your fan pages?
Well, I don't think I have any fan pages, so the account might exist and it probably has more followers than any of my fan pages, but it's been a while since it's been an active account, so
Man, hey, we might have to get that thing back up and running.
yeah.
But just a couple questions to close things out here. You've had some incredible moments so far on the track and on the cross country course. Looking back, which race are you most proud of, and what's something unrelated to track and field or cross country that you're very proud of that you've experienced in the past 4 years?
Yeah, I think the race that I'm most proud of is the NCAA indoor DMR. And, I think that was just pretty special because, it was my teammates, Wes and Connor, their last race, and Alex Sherman, he was a senior. He ran outdoors, but his last indoor race. And, you know, it was a full team effort. Like, we set an NCAA meet record and those guys ran fantastic. And then, it was pretty special just to go out there and give it my all and really cap it off and, win my first NCAA title and win an NCAA title as a team. So that was a pretty special moment.
Yeah, no, I remember I had Wes Porter on here and he said the exact same thing. And I'll just repeat the exact answer I had. I was watching that from home and it almost brought tears to my eyes to watch you guys do that on Virginia soil at the Virginia Beach facility. That was an incredible way to cap off him and Connor's careers and to really spark your season. I mean, obviously you went on to have an incredible outdoor season, finished incredibly high at the trials. But yeah, that was amazing to see. And just last question here. What goals do you have for the rest of your career? You mentioned you want to stay on the track for as long as possible, but do you see yourself eventually moving to the roads or anything?
I think for the foreseeable future, definitely on the track, and especially like I've been running the 1500, and I think there's a lot more potential there. But before I even think about the roads, there's the 5K. Don't even want to talk about the 10K, but the 5K for sure. And I just think I have a lot left to prove, and I think I can make teams, I can global medals, and I'm really excited for the next chapter of my career because I feel like I've a lot left in my legs and ready to take the next step and really be one of the best guys in the world.
Absolutely. Where does your sense of like success come from? Is that more of running a fast time or winning a race?
I think winning. And I think especially because, when I was in high school, I feel like the biggest thing was running fast. And usually if you were the best guy, if you ran fast, you won. But the biggest adjustment in college and at the pro circuit now has been, it's not always about running fast. It's just about going out and winning. And I feel like I feel the most accomplishment and, just the most fulfilled when I'm going out and I'm running at high level meets, like making the final at USA's or winning NCAA's. And, I feel like those are the highlights I look back at in my career. So I'm hoping to do more of that this year.
No, absolutely. And when you're tackling just going for a win rather than a fast time, how does that change your mindset in training when you're really focused on more of like tactical errors instead of just whoever can show up to the line most fit?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, and I think we're always trying to train to be a well-rounded athlete. And, no matter what, you always need to run really fast because the race can go either way. But I think once you're getting into the postseason and there's these more championship races, then the mindset shifts a little too. I got to be the fastest 400 runner in this race, not just I got to be the fastest runner in this race. I think training wise, we're always doing a little bit of both every year. So always sharpening up and always being ready to fast needed. But towards the end of the year, it's definitely even more of a focus.
Sweet. Well, Gary, thank you so much for joining us here today. This was episode 10 of the Still Straight Fire Running podcast. And thank you all at home for listening.